The Celestial Portfolio, a comprehensive guide to stocks and traditional investing through the lens of astrology from beginner stargazing to advanced astro-investing mastery. With peace and love, please subscribe, like, comment, share if you dare and care. And let's get started with this video because it's going to be pretty long. We have a few quotes to go over first. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars but in ourselves. Shakespeare, Julius Caesar. The stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Warren Buffett. And the planets impel, they do not compel, but the wise investor heeds their rhythm. Astro-Investor's maxim. This guide presents astrological concepts applied to the stock market for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing herein constitutes financial advice. Stock market investing carries risk, including the potential loss of principal. Historical astrological correlations do not predict future performance. Always conduct thorough fundamental analysis. Consult with a qualified financial advisor. Make decisions appropriate to your personal financial situation, risk tolerance, and investment goals. All right. So, why astrology and the stock market? Long before cryptocurrency dominated the digital age, there was the stock market, all right? The original planetary mirror of human collective hope and fear. Since the founding of the Amsterdam Stock Exchange in 1602, astrologers have tracked the dance of Jupiter and Saturn to forecast trade cycles, famines, and booms. The New York Stock Exchange itself was born under a specific sky, and its chart remains a living blueprint of American capitalism. The stock market, unlike crypto, is tied to tangible companies, quarterly earnings, and the slow grind of industrial and technological progress. It is Saturnian in structure, with bursts of Uranian innovation and Jupiterian exuberance. Every sector, from banking to AI, has a planetary ruler. Every major crash has an astrological signature. All right? And this guide will take you from zero astrological knowledge to a working framework for integrating cosmic cycles with your long-term stock investing. We will avoid the get-rich-quick fantasy and instead focus on the deeper rhythm, timing accumulation, managing risk, and aligning your personal chart with the macro currents that shape industries and indexes. Astrological foundations for the stock market beginner. The cosmic trinity, signs, planets, and houses in finance. If you've already seen my video on cryptocurrency, which you probably haven't yet, but you will, you'll know that you found the foundational language familiar, but now recalibrated for equities, dividends, and blue chip companies. We look at the 12 the 12 zodiac signs as market sectors, and each sign corresponds to a natural industry or an investment theme. So we can look at the sign, its element, its market sector, and its investment theme. So like Aries is fire, it's defense, sports, startups, aggressive growth, first mover IPOs, speculative biotech, small cap breakout stocks. Taurus is earth, okay? It's banking, luxury goods, agriculture, real estate, dividend aristocrats, value stocks, REITs, commodity-based equities. So this is what we see here. Okay, I don't think I did this. I thought I did go over some certain things like this, but anyways, Gemini is air, so media, telecom, social media, publishing, news-driven momentum trades, communication stocks, and retail traders. We know that Cancer is water, so home builders, nursing, food and beverage, domestic services, defensive stocks, stay-at-home plays, consumer staples. Leo is fire, it's entertainment, gaming, luxury brands, gold, speculative growth, brand-driven companies, gold miners. Virgo is earth, healthcare, data analytics, employment services, auditing value, precision turnarounds, health tech, and efficiency plays. Libra is air, law firms, consulting, fashion, cosmetics, luxury goods, merger arbitrage, partnership-driven stocks, and balanced funds. Scorpio is water, insurance, debt collection, cybersecurity, private equity, deep value, distressed assets, turnarounds, and hidden assets. Sagittarius is fire, airlines, international trade, publishing, education, global growth, emerging markets, cross-border plays. Capricorn is earth infrastructure, all right? Mining, government, contractors, blue chips, the classic Dow stocks, value with moats, institutional favorites. Aquarius is air, it's technology, electric vehicles, space, renewable energy, disruptive innovation, tech ETFs, next-gen industries. And Pisces is water, okay? Pharmaceuticals, beverages, spirituality, shipping, speculative pharma pipelines, oil tankers, anything hidden value. When transiting Jupiter enters the sign, the associated sectors often receive a 12-month tailwind. When Saturn enters, those same sectors face headwinds or become value traps until they're restructured. The planets as market forces. So the Sun is Leo, naturally, confidence, leadership, overall market trend, S&P 500, CEO announcements. While the Moon is Cancer, mass emotion, daily mood, intraday swings, weekly options expiration, retail investor sentiment. Mercury is Gemini, Virgo information, commerce, earnings, reports, analyst upgrades, downgrades, Fed minutes. Venus is Taurus, Libra rule, value, luxury, yield, dividend payments, luxury stocks, PE, multiple expansion. Mars, Aries, Scorpio aggression, initiation, hostile takeovers, activist investors, short selling attacks. Jupiter, Sagittarius, Pisces expansion, optimism, bull markets, IPOs, emerging markets, regulatory easings. Saturn, Capricorn, Aquarius, contraction, discipline, bear markets, recessions, dividend cuts, value investing. Uranus, Aquarius, sudden disruption, tech breakthroughs, surprise earnings, flash crashes. Neptune is Pisces illusion, bubbles, speculative manias, .com, 2020 SPACs, frauds, Enron. Pluto, Scorpio, death, rebirth, massive capital, mega mergers, nationalizations, too big to fail moments. And the houses in financial astrology, when you cast a chart for a stock exchange, an index, or even your personal portfolio, houses will represent specific domains. The same 12-house system applies, and here we adapt to investing. So the first house is the market's opening. It's public image, how it greets the world. The second house is national reserves, corporate cash balances, value as an asset class. The third house is daily trading volume, financial media, short-term news flow. The fourth house is the real estate sector, farmland, mining assets, home bias. The fifth house is speculation, hedge funds, venture capital, leverage ETFs. The sixth house is employment data, labor costs, daily routine of the market, open, close. Seventh house is mergers, partnerships, trade agreements, public enemies, short sellers. The eighth house is debt, taxes, insurance companies, bankruptcies, other people's money. The ninth house is foreign markets, global trade, monetary policy, central banks, philosophy of markets. The 10th house is the index's reputation, the CEO, regulation, market highs, lows. 11th house is retail investors, social trading platforms, collective gains, ETFs, mutual funds. And the 12th house is behind the scenes manipulation, insider trading, hedge fund, dark pools. How to use. The New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, has a well-known natal chart. If a major transit hits its 8th house dead, expect credit market stress. If Jupiter transits its 10th house, expect record highs and public adulation of the market. Aspects, the cosmic conversations that move markets. Same major aspects as before, now interpreted through the lens of corporate and index charts. So we look at the aspect, the angle, and the market meaning. So conjunction, 0 degrees, a new cycle, merger, product launch, major policy shifts. Saturn-Pluto conjunctions historically coincide with economic crises like 1914, 1947, 82, and 2020. Sextile, 60 degrees, gentle tailwind, favorable earnings surprise, minor sector rotation. Squares, 90 degrees, it's friction, earnings miss, regulatory headwind, union strike, internal conflict often marks a short-term top or bottom. Trine is 120 degrees, smooth sailing, bullish earnings, harmonious macro data. Goldilocks conditions can breed complacency. Opposition, 180 degrees, extremes, reversals, full moon in the market, often a peak in a sentiment before a pullback. Jupiter-Saturn oppositions mark economic turning points. Our orb rule for major indices: use 2 through 3 degrees for exact timing. Wider orbs set the background theme. The lunar rhythm in equities. The stock market, contrary to crypto's 24/7 trading, has defined sessions and weekends. The monthly lunar cycle still modulates weekly risk appetite. So for example, a new moon, often a monthly low, accumulation phase begins, best days to deploy new capital. First quarter is push toward resistance, test of conviction, add to winners, set stops. Full moon, euphoric highs, often a 1 to 3 day pullback follows, take partial profits, rebalance. And last quarter, fear-driven sell-off, value hunting, buy the dip on quality names. And void of course moon, VOC, during these 2 to 3 hour windows, the market often drifts or whipsaws on low volume. Avoid placing earnings straddles or initiating large positions. Applying astrology to stock investing. The birth charts of major stock exchanges and indices. Well, unlike a cryptocurrency with a precise Genesis block, exchanges have fuzzier birth data, but historical records allow us to cast reliable charts. The Heart of Capitalism, NYSE. Founded May 17th, 1792, when the Button Wood Agreement was signed, chart is traditionally cast for noon in NYC, with Sun in Taurus at 26 degrees, and we know that Taurus rules money, value, and stability. The NYSE's very soul is about preservation and growth of capital. Its stubbornness, refusing to close during crises unless forced, is pure Taurus. Moon in Taurus, approximately 14 degrees, emotional security comes from tangible assets. The market's mood is comforted by steady dividends and gold. Mercury in Taurus, approximately 8 degrees. Slow, deliberate communication, no rash announcements, research before action. Venus in Gemini, approximately 21 degrees. Values driven by information, news, and dual narratives. The exchange thrives on information flow. Mars in Virgo, approximately 19 degrees. Retrograde, action is analytical, often critical. Volatility emerges from data scrutiny. Retrograde Mars suggests internalized, sometimes hidden aggressive moves, also known as dark pools. Jupiter in Libra, approximately 18 degrees. Expansion through partnerships, fair trade, balance, international listings expand the NYSE's fortune. Saturn in Aries, approximately 24 degrees, is disciplined through competitive fire. Bear markets are aggressive in their contraction. Regulations are imposed with an Aries edge, abrupt. Uranus in Leo, approximately 18 degrees, radical disruptions to power structures. 1987 crash, Uranus return square by transiting Uranus occurred near Uranus return. Neptune in Libra, approximately 24 degrees. Idealism about balanced prosperity can inflate bubbles. The roaring 20s and the subsequent crash were Neptune and Leo square natal Neptune. Pluto in Aquarius, approximately 27 degrees. Transformation through collective innovation. The very existence of stock market democratization, ETFs, fractional shares, is Pluto in Aquarius. We look at our key natal aspects. Sun trine Mars. 26 degrees Taurus, 19 degrees Virgo. Natural ability to act on value. Market rallies are fueled by analytical confidence. Jupiter square Neptune is 18 degrees Libra through 24 degrees Libra. Expansive dreams that can lead to illusions. The new era, thinking before crashes. Bubbles inflate beautifully, then dissolve. Saturn opposite Neptune, 24 Aries, 24 Libra. Tension between harsh reality, Aries Saturn, and utopian dreams, Neptune and Libra. It's the signature of boom-bust cycles. Transiting triggers. When transiting Pluto conjoined the NYSE's Pluto and Aquarius in the 21st century around 2020 through 2023, we saw a rise of meme stocks, a fundamental redistribution of market power, Aquarius, and NFTs. So Pluto fucking in Aquarius. Saturn return of the NYSE occurred in 2026, Saturn in Aries returning to natal Saturn. This marks a period of structural discipline, a bear market in speculation, and a return to fundamental business valuations. Next, we're going to talk about the S&P 500 index, the modern benchmark. The S&P 500 in its current form was created on March 4th, 1957. We take the opening of the NYSE that day, 10 a.m. New York. Sun in Pisces, 13 degrees. The index's identity is fluid, comprehensive, representative of the ocean of the U.S. economy. Moon in Aries, and the exact degree depends on the time. Quick emotional reactions, sharp rallies, and sell-offs. We're going to say Gemini rising. Communicative, news reactive, the index moves on headlines, with Saturn and Sag retrograde. Discipline is expanding within a framework. The 500 companies represent the established order, but with a global philosophical outlook. Using S&P 500's chart, transits to its Saturn at 14 degrees Sag often coincide with stress tests on the broad market. Jupiter crossing that degree, for example, in 2022, could signal a brief relief rally, but a Saturn transit, for example, 2015 through 2016, Saturn in Sag, caused a tightening, the taper tantrum era. Let's talk about NASDAQ Composite, the tech heartbeat. February 8th, 1971, we can cast for 8:30 a.m. when it began operation. Sun in Aquarius, 19 degrees, the soul's innovation, technology, futuristic. Mars in Sag, 1 degrees, retrograde, aggressive expansion into new tech, sometimes reckless. Dot-com bubble was Mars in Sag taken to the extreme. Jupiter in Sag is boundless luck tied to the new thing, bubble prone. Saturn in Taurus is the underlying value of technology and must eventually be grounded, Taurus. Crashes occur when the tech hype meets Saturnian reality. What's important here is NASDAQ is heavily influenced by Uranus transits due to its Aquarian nature. Uranus and Taurus force tech companies to become profitable, ending the era of growth at all costs. Uranus and Gemini will supercharge AI and information-based tech. Planetary transits and sector rotation. The outer planets are your macroeconomic GPS. Here's how to use them for sector allocation. Jupiter transits, 1 year per sign. Load up the sector of the sign. Jupiter in Taurus, bank stocks, luxury goods, agriculture rallied. Jupiter in Gemini is media, telecom, AI communication tools. Jupiter in Cancer is home builders, food stocks, domestic care. We look at Saturn transits, which is 2.5 years per sign. Saturn forces the sector to mature or collapse. Saturn in Pisces squeeze unprofitable pharma, shipping, and unregulated lending. Saturn in Aries will discipline defense and startup sectors. Expect activist investors to force profitability and speculative tech. Uranus in Taurus revolutionize money and value, fintech, plant-based food, alternative assets. Uranus in Gemini will revolutionize information technology again, the next internet, stocks, AI models as a service, decentralized science. Neptune in Aries. Expect a new wave of individual empowerment illusions, decentralized identity, personal AI assistance, but also a lot of fraud in these sectors. Be cautious of hero founder-led companies. And Pluto in Aquarius is a generational power shift. Toward collective technologies, invest in crypto-adjacent equities, electric grids, space-based internet, and biotech that fuses humans with machines. Align your sector ETF holdings with the sign of the transiting Jupiter for growth, but also ensure Saturn isn't about to enter the same sign soon. Mercury retrograde in earnings seasons. Someone in here. Hold on. Alright, so Mercury retrograde occurs 3 to 4 times a year. It's notorious for travel delays and communication mishaps. In the stock market, it correlates with earnings restatements, surprising misses from usually reliable companies, Fed minutes confusion, and merger talks breaking down. Historical backtests. During the 10 Mercury retrogrades from 2018 to 2023, the S&P 500 exhibited an average daily range 15% higher than during direct periods. The final week of retrograde in the shadow period often saw a sharp reversal. Investment approach. Avoid initiating a new long position based on a single earnings report during retrograde. The numbers might be revised. Use the dip on bad news retrograde days, as often the initial reaction reverses after the station direct. Do not exit a well-researched long-term holding simply because it dips during Mercury retrograde. Eclipses, the cosmic earnings surprise. Solar and lunar eclipses often mark the major turning points in an index. Eclipse on the NYSE's ascendant-descendant axis, Taurus Scorpio. Financial sector shocks. The 2008 financial crisis erupted as the lunar eclipse path crossed the U.S., and the September 2008 eclipse squared the NYSE's nodes. Eclipse on S&P 500 Sun. 13 degrees Pisces, major identity crises for the U.S. market. Often a recession or a change in leadership. For example, the COVID crash eclipse in 2020 was near this degree. The 2 weeks between eclipses, eclipse season, are unpredictable. Reduce margin, tighten stop losses, and consider hedging with volatility or inverse ETFs. The market often trends strongly in one direction after the second eclipse. Advanced Astro-Investing techniques, planetary cycles, and long-term market rhythms. Stock market's long cycles are remarkably aligned with the outer planets. Okay? Jupiter-Saturn synodic cycle, 20 years. This defines economic expansions and contractions. The Great Conjunction of 2020 in Aquarius began a new 200-year air epoch, shifting wealth from material earth to information, networks, and intangibles. This favors tech indices over industrial indices for the next decades. The 20-year mini-cycle peaks mid-cycle around the time of the opposition. For example, Jupiter opposite Saturn in 2029 will test the post-2020 growth. Saturn-Uranus cycle, 45 years, tension between old structures, Saturn, and new disruptions, Uranus. Last square was in 2021, coinciding with meme stock mania, inflation shocks, and the end of the long bull. Next conjunction will be around 2032 in Gemini, likely birthing a new technological infrastructure that will eventually be regulated. Look for the hard aspects, square opposition, to anticipate major volatility regimes. Uranus-Pluto cycle, 125 years, a 1960s conjunction in Virgo set the stage for the computer age. The squares in the 2010s, Aries Capricorn bought the gig economy, financial crises, and decentralized rebellion. Next trend will be in the 2050s, a harmonious integration of tech and power. Long-term investors should monitor these major cycles and anticipate regime changes. The Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in a sign marks the start of a 20-year growth theme. The peak of that cycle is often around the opposition, roughly 10 years later. Alright. Harmonics and market fractals. So stocks exhibit fractal price time patterns. Essentially quintiles here. Hold up. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Alright. So stocks exhibit fractal price time patterns. Quintiles are 72 degrees, 144 degrees representing creative, elegant solutions. Apple's product launches often cluster around Venus quintile Uranus. And then we have septiles, which are 51.4 degrees, and they align with irrational speculative bubbles. The 1929 peak had a cluster of septiles. If you notice a stock's price chart forming a 72-day cycle between lows, check if transiting Uranus is in a quintile aspect to the company's natal sun. This might time the next innovation reveal or product cycle. Midpoints for precise entry and exit. So every publicly traded company has a natal chart based on its incorporation date and sometimes its IPO date. We construct a midpoint sort for the incorporation chart. And I'll show you how to do that in a second here. Okay. So Sun, Moon, midpoint is a transit of Jupiter here. It often brings a buyout offer or a major CEO recognition that boosts stock. Jupiter, Uranus midpoint, a transit from Mars can cause a sudden gap up on unexpected news. And Saturn, Pluto midpoint, a transit from the Sun marks restructuring, layoffs, or debt crises that crushes share price. You can create a watch list of your holdings with their sensitive midpoints. When transiting Jupiter or Uranus hits one, it's often a time to buy or sell based on the planet's nature. Alright, personal astrology for the individual investor. Your own natal chart is a final filter. You can have the most promising planetary set for tech stocks. But if your transiting Saturn is squaring your natal 5th house cusp speculation, you will likely lose money on even good picks due to poor timing. Jupiter transiting your 2nd house of personal money is a period of increased earnings and net worth, good to increase savings rate and investment. Saturn transiting your 2nd house is financial lessons, cash flow tightens, focus on value and budget, avoid that margin. Uranus transiting your 8th house of other people's money is unexpected debt, but also potential windfall, inheritance, settlement. Not a good time for risky loans to invest. In your 5th house ruler, the house of speculation, if well aspected by transit, you'll have a hot hand, but if it's afflicted, there will be paper trade. Track your progressed moon cycle, 2.5 years per sign. When your progressed moon enters your 2nd house, you experience a 2.5-year financial focus. The sign it's in colors your approach. In Taurus, steady saving. In Gemini, multiple income streams. Integrating astrology with fundamental and technical analysis. Astrology is a timing tool, not a substitute for valuation. The optimum approach is a 3-layer filter. Fundamental analysis: is the company undervalued? Does it have a durable moat? Technical analysis: is a stock in an uptrend building a base or breaking out? Astrological timing: is the company's chart receiving a positive catalytic transit? For example, Jupiter conjunct the natal Venus. Is the overall market entering a favorable lunar phase? Is my personal chart clear of major afflictions to the 5th house of speculation? When all 3 align, you have a high probability setup. When they conflict, respect the fundamentals and technicals first, and use astrology to adjust position size. Now let's go over appendices. Natal charts of major indices and key U.S. companies. Now, as you can see here, we have our entity incorporation, our IPO, and then we have our date, the sun sign, as well as the rising sign. Approximately, and the key midpoint. So like NYSE, May 17th, 1792, Taurus, 26 degrees Taurus, noon. And the midpoint is Jupiter Uranus at 23 degrees Pisces. S&P 500, March 4th, 1957, Pisces 13 degrees, Gemini Sun Moon, 11 degrees Aquarius. NASDAQ, we see February 8th, 1971, Aquarius 19 degrees, Sagittarius, Saturn, Pluto 10 degrees Capricorn. Apple, January 3rd, 1977, Capricorn 13 degrees Virgo, Venus, Mars 24 degrees Sag. Microsoft, April 4th, 1975, Aries 14 degrees Cancer, Jupiter, Uranus 3 degrees Scorpio. Amazon, July 5th, 1994, Cancer 13 degrees Leo, Sun, Pluto 25 degrees Scorpio. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's chart is more revealing. Johnson & Johnson, Scorpio 18 degrees, Capricorn, Saturn, Neptune 1 degrees Leo. JP Morgan Chase, the original bank from 1799. Modern entity 2000 varies, Aquarius, Jupiter, Saturn 0 degrees Taurus. And then we have an Astro stock market calendar, key dates for investors. It's already May 28th. So moving on to like June 4th here. Mercury is actually going to be retrograde, not Venus. Mercury is going retrograde, so you absolutely need to be careful. Like I was saying with that, when planets are retrograde, be careful. Alright, so this is just showing us what the planets rule in regards to stocks, stock sectors, and example ETFs and stocks. Like what we already kind of went over earlier, like the signs of leadership, large cap blend, gold, SPY, GLD, CEO, heavy funds. The moon is consumer staples, housing, food, XLP, XHB, KRPG. Mercury's communication, media, software, XLC, Meta, Google. Venus is luxury, banks, cosmetics, dividend aristocrats, XLF, Noble. Mars is defense, aerospace, metals, aggressive growth, like fucking Starlink and Neuralink, whatever Elon Musk is working on. Jupiter International, developed emerging markets, IPOs. Saturn is value, insurance, mining, infrastructure. Uranus, technology, biotech, electric vehicles, space. Neptune, pharma, beverages, shipping, films. Pluto, private equity, cybersecurity, debt collectors, and nuclear. And here's a glossary with stock additions. I also have some recommended tools here. Software, Astro.com is free. Stockmarketastrology.com, Wave 59, Timing Solution. Alright. There are some books to read. Alright. In my next video is when we're going to go over cryptocurrency. So whichever one you see first, cheers to you. I hope to see you there with peace and love. Piscean out.